friends, welcome to the Scapegoat Club. My name's Jess and this video is the top 10 tactics that narcissists can use to control us. Stay tuned. Hey friends, hope you're doing well. Good to see you again. My name's Jess. I'm a therapist. I am the scapegoat in a very narcissistic family, and today's video is about the top 10 tactics that I think narcissists use to try and control us. These tactics can apply to family members, can apply to partners, can apply to friends, kids, workplaces. They're a pattern. So what's great is that when we can see them, they're not great, but when we can see them, we can then put them in context for what they are and then decide what we're going to do with that information. So tactic number one is gaslighting. So if you haven't heard of gaslighting, it's a bit of a weird name, but basically what it means, it's when a narcissist tries to alter our perception of what actually happened. So they might pretend that something didn't happen the way it did. They might just say, oh, I don't really remember it like that. Or they might say it didn't really happen in the way that it did. And so what it does, and it's the top of my list because it's insidious, it's nasty, because it affects our confidence when we can't be sure about things that happened, when we're working in this gray area of did it or didn't it, especially when the narcissist can be quite devious and quite subtle in the way that they operate. It's very hard for us to call them out when we're not entirely sure of what happened. And this is where they thrive. When we're not sure about things, when we're not 100% on it, then we start to doubt ourselves. And so then when we start to lose our confidence, that's when the narcissist comes in, because that's when they can start to control us. A second technique that narcissists use is the silent treatment, or when they don't respond to us at all, or they respond very, very late. And so for me, the biggest problem with the silent treatment actually isn't the fact that the narcissist is not speaking to us, because that can be quite relaxing when we get later on down the line and we finally get some quiet space from them. But unfortunately, when we've had difficult childhoods and we have a kind of a background in trauma from narcissistic parents or really difficult families, what the silent treatment can do is actually kind of trigger, and I use that word specifically, it sets off really difficult trauma responses in our brain. We start to panic, we start to get really worried, we can get very, very stressed when we think that we've done something wrong, that we're not being spoken to, and that we're in trouble, basically. And then so what we can start thinking is that when someone's not speaking to us is this intense fear that it's like, I've done something wrong, there's going to be these really big consequences, and ultimately I'm going to be left on my own, or I'm going to be hurt in some other really nasty way. So the silent treatment isn't just having a pause in the conversation to reflect and to get back, it pushes these buttons. And when these trauma buttons are pushed, we can be so uncomfortable and so scared and so upset that we will do whatever it takes to basically stop feeling that way. So we will do what the narcissist wants, we will apologize, we will placate, we will do all manner of things to get the narcissist back on side, to avoid this horrible feeling we get when we're subjected to the silent treatment. A third technique that narcissists use is love bombing, where basically we are everything to them. We are the center of their world. I like to think of it visually as the idea of being in that spotlight on a black stage with the one spotlight, and you're standing under it and you're being showered with their love and their adoration. And it's because you are so wonderful and you are perfect in their eyes, and you are all these things that they want and they appreciate. And it feels so good. It feels wonderful. And the problem is that it doesn't last, and that that feeling can almost become addictive, and we want it. And so when the narcissist then doesn't or retracts that love, or we don't get it anymore, then again we become under their control. We do things to make them happy, then we're a good person in their life, and then maybe they'll turn that spotlight on and we'll get that love back. And we want to feel special and we want to feel important, but when that only comes when we do something that they want, when it's conditional, that's when we're under their control. A fourth thing that narcissists like to do is triangulation. Basically, they get someone else to come along and to help do their dirty work. Often this can happen in families. Say if you have a narcissistic parent, one narcissistic parent and the other one they'll recruit the other one to push you, to pressure you, to get you to do what the narcissist wants. It can happen in work, it can happen in friendship groups, it can happen with siblings. Very common that the narcissist uses somebody else to back them up, to promote their agenda. And sadly, often the reason that the other people will help and support the narcissist is because they don't want any kind of rage, any backlash. They want a quiet life for themselves. Which takes me to the next on my list, I think it's number 5, which is rage. Narcissists can get very angry. They can get verbally, physically, emotionally abusive. It can be a very dangerous situation to be in. And for those of us who've been around volatile, violent, narcissistic people, we learn very, very quickly to see the signs of what that rage looks like and what that violence looks like. We end up walking on eggshells and we end up adjusting our behaviors. Again, we are being controlled. We adjust what we do to not push them too far, to not try and push this rage, because we want to keep ourselves safe. Number 6, which is close to my heart on this list, is scapegoating. So if you're wondering what the Scapegoat Club title is all about, it's a very classic role in narcissistic relationships and families. But basically what it is when narcissists blame other people for something that they've done. They need somebody to take the blame, to take the rap for their bad behavior, so then they don't have to take any responsibility themselves. Sometimes it can be really obvious and very blatant. Like literally, they will say that somebody else did something that they did. Often it's a lot more subtle, and they will try to avoid and maneuver to get away from ultimately taking their own responsibility. Emotional blackmail. Oh, the emotional blackmail. I think narcissists are brilliant at this, especially the covert, but all of them. Basically, it's playing on other people's emotions to get what they want. And so often it's guilting us into doing what they want. And often they can kind of triangulate and emotional blackmail at the same time. For example, oh, your grandmother will be so upset if you don't spend the holidays with her. It might be nothing to do with what grandmother wants, but it's what the narcissist wants. And so they're playing on that guilt that if we don't do it, that we're bad people, that we're not fulfilling our roles, that we aren't, in some way we're deficient if we don't do what they want. And a lot of us are very susceptible to feeling guilty. The narcissists are great at pushing that button. And along the same lines as that, narcissists are amazing at playing the victim. So if they don't get what they want and they want to kind of go around the houses and find another way to manipulate us, perhaps the emotional blackmail isn't going to work in this situation, then they can play the victim. So an example, a really subtle example, might be in a friend group where it's a big birthday, you're having a big birthday celebration coming up and you want your friends to be there, but the narcissistic friend doesn't want to do it because they're not going to be in the spotlight, they're not going to be in that central place. So they could come up with, well, of course, it would be so nice if we could all afford to have a celebration like that. They'll have a reason or an excuse, or, oh, well, if I didn't have to look after my own mother-in-law, it would be lovely for me to be able to just drop everything and do that. So the narcissist ends up having this thing or this reason or this excuse where if we were to argue against it, then we would end up looking bad. And obviously there are some situations where these things do happen and it's real, and we do need to make accommodation and give space to other people in our lives. Again, the problem is when this is a pattern, or if the situation were reversed. For example, the narcissist having a big party, and say you've lost your job, but you're expected to still go and spend the money or do the thing. And so when it works to the narcissist's advantage, it's one thing. When you need something, it's a different situation. So number 9 on my list is the bandwagon. So this is where narcissists just claim that everybody thinks this way, that everybody else agrees with them, and that basically we're the outlier and we're the one that doesn't fit in by not doing it. But as with narcissists, so often their logic isn't there. There's no evidence, there's no data. They're just making it up. They're just saying what they need to in the spur of the moment. But they're, again, trying to kind of shame us into, why don't we want to do it? Why are we so different that we're not going to go along with what they want? Kind of peer pressure, but without the peer, I guess. I don't know how they even managed to do it. Bizarre. And so the last one on the list is future faking. And what I think is interesting about this one is that it can almost be used when the narcissist has when you've caught them out, when they realize that they're not quite getting away with all of the things that they've been doing before, all of that bad behavior, because we've now figured it out. So basically when we call them out, or when we're like, enough's enough, or we put a line in the sand and say no, then they'll say, well, it's going to be different the next time. It could be along with a kind of a fake apology. I'm really sorry that that thing happened. I will make sure that that doesn't happen again. It could be a, well, if you do this for me this time, then we'll make sure we do that for you next time. If we spend the holidays with my in-laws this year, we're going to go to yours next year. Except that the next year, there's another reason that it can't happen. And so with that future faking, especially when it's combined with the love bombing of, oh, of course, yeah, you're the most special, important, special person, this will never happen again. When those two things get combined, then we really, really get in trouble, because we are convinced that at some point things are going to change. But sadly, it rarely happens, or if it does happen the once, it's most likely to revert back to what it was before. Friends, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you spending some time with me. If you like the video, you can like it, give me a thumbs up, you can subscribe. Please, please feel free to share it with someone who you think could benefit. If you found it super useful and you're a regular here, you can make a donation, you can join me on Patreon. And also I have my website, which I haven't been spending as much time on it as I'm hopefully going to. I'm gonna put a blog post on this as well. So friends, thank you so much. Please take care. Say hi below, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye for now.